All right, so it's 4th and 10. I'm on the sideline, Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. The year's 2000, we're playing Mississippi State, who's ranked 25th in the country. Our quarterback, Phil Petty, goes down the play before, and I've got Hall of Fame coach Lou Holtz, a guy about 5'7", 150 pounds soaking wet, with a profound lisp in my face, asking me, Erik, what do you want to run? What do you want to run? There's 80,000 people in the stands. The game's on TV. Let me back it up a little bit and give you a little context, okay? My first year at South Carolina, I was recruited by a guy named Brad Scott. We won one game and lost 10 in a row. In the world of college football, that means you get fired. So Coach Scott was fired. We bring in this Hall of Fame coach named Lou Holtz. A lot of you probably don't know who he is, but the people in the back probably do. We go 0-11 that first year, losing 13 offensive linemen. We have the nation's longest losing streak at 25 games, okay? It was embarrassing. You wouldn't wear your gear downtown. But something changed in the offseason. We played the first game of the year in the year 2000. We play a bad New Mexico State team. We win the game 31-0. All the crazy people in Williams-Brice Stadium tear the goalpost down. The next week, Mr. Angel's Georgia Bulldogs come in with a Heisman Trophy hopeful, a guy named Quincy Carter, who decides to throw 5 interceptions that day, and the Gamecocks take down the Bulldogs 21-10. All the crazies in Williams-Brice Stadium rush the field again and tear down the goalpost for the second straight week. The third week, we beat a bad team, and the fourth week is where you find myself at the end of a game against a really great Mississippi State team. And Coach Holtz comes, hey, Erik, what would you like to run? I said, Coach, let's throw the fade. Joey Dunn's defense is in our face. They're blitzing from everywhere. They're pressing everyone. And he said, okay, let's go. And I jog out on the field in front of all those people. Hadn't thrown a pass. There's 3 minutes to go in the game. I look to my left, and they're pressing our best receiver, Jamel Kelly. And I catch the ball in the shotgun. I can feel the pressure from my right. And I let it go, and I lofted it up a little bit more than I wanted to because he was getting pressed. And I thought maybe I underthrew him. Then the ball fell front corner of the end zone, from the 25-yard line to the front corner of the end zone. And Jamel caught it. Touchdown. Gamecocks win the game. And I had to force all these rednecks away from the goalpost to not tear them down for the third time in 4 weeks, okay? That was a huge moment in my life. And if you ask a Carolina fan probably over the age of 40, he'd tell you that was the loudest that stadium ever was. But it was a defining moment in my life. It was a moment where a greatness of spirit around me taught me a spirit of greatness within. Just a couple short years after that fade, I find myself sitting in an office in front of 2 people you've probably heard of. A guy named Herb Barks, whose name's on that building right over there with his dad's, and a guy named Chris Angel. I was interviewing for the head job at Hammond School. I was 24 years old. And Herb Barks looked at Mr. Angel and said, Mr. Angel, I'm betting on youth. And they hired me at 24 years old. And that was a moment that changed the trajectory of my life to the point that I'm standing in front of you today. So today, as we celebrate the founder of our school, John Roy Baylor, and the values he taught, I thought it was fitting to honor Dr. Barks as well. He was a man that displayed the magnanimitas that Professor Baylor wrote of. Dr. Barks was a great source of school pride and morale when he was here. He was the headmaster from 1971 to 1988. He was a guy you could see giving pep talks in the locker room, leading pep rallies, running around on the sideline. Sounds like someone else I know. And years ago, he actually spoke here, years ago, I think right there, because I saw a video of it when I was coming to Baylor, and I watched him speak and I took notes. And I want to share a quote with you that he gave that day. He said, let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pool of what you really love. It will never lead you astray. Let the beauty of what you love be what you do. Let me read that again. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will never lead you astray. Let the beauty of what you love be what you do. So I took some notes as I'm watching him speak, and I wrote down a couple things. When you do what you love, space opens for magic. When we create moments, we create space in which they'll arrive. When you're awake to this mode of beating, such luminous moments arrive. Give space for moments of magic to arrive. Be aware of the greatness of spirit around you. I taught a philosophy of religion class for 10 years at Hammond. One of my favorite guys to study was a guy named Carl Jung. And Jung had this quote. He said, "People don't have ideas, ideas have people." And likewise, I think people have a spirit, but also a spirit has people. And those moments of greatness are around us all the time at Baylor. And they testify to the spirit of this place and to who we are. We witnessed some of those in our season last year, and our schools produced a lot of those in the past. So I'd like to share some football stories with you today that I think exemplify this spirit. And I want to challenge you today this. Open yourself to the greatness of spirit around you so that you can develop a spirit of greatness within. So the first story I'm going to tell is about Baylor's first victory over Macaulay. So as everyone here knows, this school was founded in 1893 by John Roy Baylor. But it was an academic institution only. There was no extracurricular or any school-sanctioned sports. So the first 10 years of existence, Baylor's enrollment was kind of up and down. But the biggest challenge that we faced was in 1905. One of Professor Baylor's most esteemed students, a guy named Park Macaulay, decided to start a school just downtown. And they not only were going to provide opportunities for athletics, but they were going to actually focus on them and even have a sport, this new sport, a team called football. So in 1908, Dr. Baylor had to change his convictions, and he hired a guy named Samuel J. McAllister. Okay? McAllister was a local high school coach, but he was studying to be a lawyer at night at the local law school. And he told Dr. Baylor, he said, "I will come coach until I get my law degree, and then I'm going to go do that." So he helped Professor Baylor, Dr. Baylor, run the school, and he coached the team. That first year was the first time we played Macaulay. It was 1908, okay? We had some games against them, but it was kind of like flag football, like a recess game. It wasn't real. And the game ended in a wonderful tie of 0-0. It was played in front of about 1,800 people, which is the largest crowd in the history of Chattanooga to watch a game. The next year, Coach McAllister did a great job, and they won every game except the Macaulay game. Well, by this time, he had had his law degree, but he was so disenfranchised with losing that game that he vowed to a student, "I will coach and teach at Baylor until we beat Macaulay." So in 1911, that day came, and we beat Macaulay 30-0 in 1911 for our first victory ever. And finally, Coach McAllister decided he would actually go practice law. Pretty cool story. He opened himself to the greatness of the spirit around him so he could develop a spirit of greatness within. Now I'm going to tell you about two great running backs. One of them you've never heard of, and the other one you probably have. Eddie Prokop, who played at Baylor in 1940, and a guy named David Gabriel Georges. Eddie Prokop was 6 feet tall, weighed 195 pounds, and was fast as lightning. He was a son of Lithuanian immigrants, and they owned a grocery shop in Cleveland down the street. And Coach Humpy Haywood, who the stadium's named after, him and his assistant went and begged his parents, Eddie's parents, to let him do a post-grad year here. And everyone was super excited. And he certainly didn't disappoint. He was setting records at the beginning of the year. He was running all over people. Baylor was killing everybody. I think it was like 280-32 was the total score before they played Macaulay that year. One sports writer said, "This guy's the best running back I've ever seen in Chattanooga. He may be one of the best players I've ever seen." Well, the big game against Macaulay comes, and Eddie doesn't disappoint. He rushes for 2 touchdowns in the first half and a 2-point conversion. We're up 15-0. But in the third quarter, as Macaulay tends to do, they come back. They score a touchdown, and they're driving late in the fourth to tie the game, and we get a stop on the 7-yard line. And all we have to do is take a knee. And they come in, and Eddie Prokop says, "Nope, we're not taking a knee. Give me the ball." Last play of the game, he runs 93 yards for a touchdown and cements himself in history, by everyone's account there, as the greatest player in the history of the rivalry. Fast forward 84 years. There's a young man, David Gabriel Georges, puts a Baylor helmet on for the first time a summer ago. He's 6 foot, He's 195. He's fast as lightning. And we all saw what he did a year ago when he rushed for over 1,000 yards and won Mr. Football as a sophomore. We all saw what he did this past year. We rushed for over 1,700 yards and 27 touchdowns, won Mr. Football, and yesterday was named the National Player of the Year from Max Preps. Congrats, David. Pretty cool stuff. We were there in October when we went over to the Blues School and won for the first time since 1996, and we saw what he did, running through guys, pulling them by his hair, his face mask. But that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about a meeting we had, me and David, a little conversation before the semifinal game. All right, we go up here and we have our pregame meal, and we go down and we go in the film room and we talk as a team about our goals and reminders of plays and all that stuff. And David and I are walking out together. And I said, David, how many you want to go for tonight? And he looked at me, stone-faced. 400. I was like, sounds good, David. I kind of walked off. Well, y'all saw it. You saw him run like a guy possessed, running around people, through people, over people. And at the end of the game, we went out, and all we had to do was run the clock out. And David said, Coach, let's run split zone. I said, okay. David goes 73 yards, 7th touchdown, and how many yards? 400, over 400. Cementing himself as one of the greatest, if not the greatest player in the history of the rivalry. Eddie Prokop, David Gabriel Georges, 2 players separated by 84 years. Both opened themselves up to a moment of magic where a greatness of spirit inspired a spirit of greatness. All right, last story, and I'll get out of here. I want to tell you about Briggs Cherry's last pass. The year before was tough, lost a tough game, but we bounced back this year. A lot of it to do was Briggs' character and his leadership. And we knew playing in that game against Brentwood was going to be tough. They had a really good defense, and we knew they were going to bring everybody down in the box to try to stop David and our O-line in the running game. So the plan was to throw the ball often and early down the field and loosen them up. Well, as we're running out to the game, all you guys that were there know, it started raining as soon as we kicked off. And rain can definitely affect the passing game. And as we're going out, Briggs looks at me and says, well, Coach, the trickster showed up. The trickster. That's something we teach our team about every year. If you don't know what the trickster is, I'll explain it briefly. The trickster is this mythological character. He is a representative of the chaos of creation of the world. It's necessary. It's not always evil because chaos can also bring opportunity. But sometimes you'll see him in movies as like the Joker or a Green Man, so he can be scary. Well, this wise guy named Tom Mankey talked to our team one year, and he said this to our team, and it hit me, and it took me a couple days to understand it. But now it's something I teach every year. If you're ever walking down the path of life and you come across the trickster, stop. Look him in the eye, tip your cap, keep walking. I asked Dalton Rostelli that question. I said, what would you do? He said, I'd punch him in the face, which was very on brand for Dalton Rostelli. But think about that for a second. There's so much chaos that happens in football. It happens in our lives. But what you can't do is ignore it or attack it. Sometimes you have to recognize it. You have to stop, look it in the eye, give it its due, but then you have to keep walking. And that's what we did, and we're up 21-10, but the trickster reigned, and Brentwood comes back, and they're up 24-21, driving to maybe seal the game. Our defense makes an incredible stop, force a field goal. Our ball on the 20-yard line, 5 minutes to go. And Briggs Cherry looks at me and says, Coach, something great's about to happen. And we convert a 3rd and 7, later a 3rd and 2, and there we are on the 7-yard line, 3rd and 7. And I call flank right eagle. And this is a play we've been working on for 3 years, right? And I hadn't called it. And in fact, like during the playoffs, Briggs was like, Coach, when are we ever going to call eagle? And I said, when the moment hits us. When the magic hits us, we'll call it. Well, that was the moment. Let me tell you a little bit about this play, okay? There's a tight end, big tight end. It was Smoke on this one. And the smaller tight end was Braxton. And David's in the backfield on our right side. And then we have 2 receivers split out wide to the left. And they have basically a 2-man beater over there. So in this route, Smoke runs an OTB. That stands for over the ball, 1 yard into the end zone. And David runs an arrow into the flat. And Braxton has to run and step on the corner's toes and then snap it off into a spray post, right? Well, we call the play. The linebacker grabs smoke. 4 guys run with David. Braxton Rain steps on those corners' toes, snaps it off in that spray post. Touchdown. We win the game. We all got to celebrate that together. It was a magical moment. And it didn't hit me till later that we called Eagle to Braxton Rain to beat the Brentwood Eagles in the rain. Big magic happens when you open yourself up to the greatness of spirit around you. So here's my conclusion. Here at Baylor, it can be easy to take for granted the magic we witness every day. Here at Baylor, it can be easy to take for granted the magic that has happened in the past. Stay open. Stay open to seeing. Stay open to feeling it. Stay open to absorbing it. Let it teach you. Remember the words of Herb Barks. Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will never lead you astray. Let the beauty of what you love be what you do. And my friends, when you do that, the greatness of spirit around you will have made a spirit of greatness within you. Thank you.